Okay, welcome to SAS Workflow Automation Hands-on Workshop. My name is Justin. I'm the facilitator for this afternoon. A little bit about the agenda for today. I will be introducing you to workflow automation and certain concepts within it. And then we will look into N8N, which is one of the products that allow for such workflow automations. It's quite a recent product, and we'll do some exercises before we break for tea break. This is followed by OpenAI Agent Builder. We'll do a few exercises about OpenAI's new product before we come to a conclusion. So a little bit about myself. I'm an actuary working in the area of data science and AI, primarily within life insurance. I've done quite a few of different life insurance related data projects and data science projects. I also do training with several teaching entities like General Assembly, most recently NTU. I also volunteer with SAS. I do have some certifications in terms of data protection, coaching, and I volunteer with IFOA to mentor students as well as a reflective practitioner. I'd like to thank SAS and the Data Analytics Committee for organizing and supporting this training workshop, especially to Jess and Mass who are here today. Thank you. Thank you. So what is workflow automation? So workflow automation has been around for quite a while, and it involves automating various business processes, tasks, workflows, so that there's minimal human intervention. It leverages software to create automated tasks for automating business processes, to speed up actually business processes. Two types of workflow automation that you might have heard about. So what is traditionally workflow automation before workflow automation, this term came about, right? It used to be called business process workflows or what we call business process management, BPM. That's quite common. And you will see them in your ERP systems. More recently, you will see things like Workday. I don't know, any companies use Workday for your HR. So like it is like a business process management system, right? You apply for leave, your manager approves through the system, that gets deducted from your leave entitlement for the year, and then so on and so forth. That is business process kind of management tool. On the other hand, you have something called robotic process workflows, or what we call RPA, robotic process automation. These kind of their use is almost like bots, right? And they kind of automate certain workflows as well. The more recent developments now incorporate third-party APIs, AI, and various integration tools. So we will take a look at those a little bit more. So this is what typically you would see in terms of notation. A lot of business process management tools or concepts involve the concept of flow diagrams. So you will see, starting with this, you will take this step, and then there's some decision step. If it's yes, do this. If it's no, do this, and then and then at the end you have an end state. That completes the whole process. So there's a particular notation that they use. It's called business process management 2.0. So there's a standard notation that they use so that within their profession they can speak with a common language and use a common tool set to describe different processes. A lot of it's got to do with visualization tools, and you can see here a lot of it's got to do with flow diagrams. Right, there's this flow diagram concept that goes along with this. So for business process management, they provide end-to-end solution for automating entire business processes. So it's very business process centric. Typically, it's just one platform provider, like what I mentioned, things like Workday for your HR needs. It has obviously some templates. Whoever is providing that Workday will have some templates that you will typically follow, but of course, there's ways to customize as well. For robotic process automation, they are typically rule-based workflows on predefined tasks, which tend to be quite tedious and repetitive. So they use kind of older technology. So what happens, from what I understand, the older versions, they actually understand the screens. So they mimic your human interaction So they will mimic your cursor. Okay, move from this pixel to this pixel because there's a button in this pixel, then click. So it will memorize the pixel locations, when to click, maybe have to pause for 3 seconds for the screen to refresh for the next screen. And then you go to here, put the cursor there, type your username, put the cursor, tap, go to the password, type your password, then press the submit button to log in. So it's a very kind of low level mimicking user interaction level kind of automation. So the famous software will be things like Automation Anywhere, UiPath. Anybody use Automation Anywhere within their organizations? Any of these kind of tools? Anybody use any workflow automation tools other than like your Workday or like your claims or procurement process? No. To some extent, yes, because you schedule it, it will run everything for you. I suppose to some extent it does not automation. Yeah, can also used to do quite a lot of that by days. So what we call workflow automation is more of a modern day term. This term didn't used to exist like a few years back. And it allows for coordination and collaboration between different tools. There's an element of intelligence, right? You don't say do step 1, step 2, step 3. There's like within step 1, there might be some intelligent decision making, coordination with other processes before you go to step 2 or step 3. Or maybe because of step 1, there's certain decisions made, you skip step 2, goes directly to step 3. Right? There's some intelligent coordination going on. Again, it also automates entire business processes, and it's highly customizable these days because it's integrated with third-party tools as well, as we will see. So why do workflow automation? Because it obviously increases efficiency. Instead of having a person there, typing or doing the data entry, you can get, certain tools to automate it for you. There's error reduction, so there's no typos or press enter when you're not supposed to. But do ensure appropriate testing, especially when it involves AI. Actually, the error reduction. Yes, there might be some error reduction, but you might have increased errors due to AI not performing as you would like it. Promotes collaboration. One of the things with business process automation that it sometimes covers multiple departments or functions. So because you have a process flow that's going through multiple departments, if you can automate that process, it kind of forces all the departments to work together and foster collaboration. So this is one of the advantages of workflow automation. Cost savings, slightly controversial because a lot of layoffs recently, but potentially there is cost savings as well. And scalability, because you just create more machines, increase the capacity, give it your credit card, spawn 10 workers, 20 workers. So it's a highly scalable solution a lot of the time, compared to maybe human labor where you cannot hire as much or fire as quick. So this is something to think about in terms of scalability. Okay, NAN. So NAN is a workflow automation platform developed by a German company, NHN GmbH, based in Berlin. If I didn't remember wrongly, they started in 2019, so they're about 6 years old. They have kind of a visual interface that's very similar in terms of flow diagrams, not exactly, but they have like a kind of user interface, visual node base. So a lot of the times as a user, you'll be creating different nodes and connecting the different nodes together to get the results that you want. So this is the interface that they use. What makes it very attractive is that there's a community edition, like a free edition, cut down features, but you can self-host. Because a lot of the time you're dealing with sensitive data or sensitive processes and assumptions, you really don't want to do it on the cloud, where everybody can see, where it can get hacked. You want to self-host it within your corporate environment, so it's a bit safe. You can control who has access to what are the workflows, who can create workflows, and things like that. But today we'll be using the managed cloud service, so be prepared, in the next few steps to register yourself for the service. But this is, what you would expect in terms of user interface. Okay. Another thing that you need to know before we start is this concept, which is a concept called JSON, which stands for JavaScript Open Notation. It is an open standard file and data interchange format. It's human readable. This is an example of it. So you can see there are a lot of brackets, a lot of curly brackets. And it consists of name, value pairs, arrays, or other values. So what do you mean by name, value pairs? The green parts are the names. The right parts are the values. And when we talk about arrays, for example, children, you have an array of 3 children called Catherine, Thomas, and Trevor. So it always comes in pairs. So it's very easy to say, okay, can I, for this particular person, determine who are the children? So if I say for this particular person, children, it will return me Catherine, Thomas, and Trevor. So it has this name value pair going on in terms of how it stores data or creates data. It is very commonly used in web applications. I think these days nobody uses XML anymore. It used to be XML, but hardly anybody uses XML these days. It's used in NoSQL databases. So you might have heard of document databases and things like MongoDB. So those use this kind of JSON format. AI applications, you see loads of this in AI applications. And basically that's how, I would say, I don't have an estimate, but it's easily maybe 80 to 90% of a lot of the communications that we go through JSON format. And also your workflow automation software. And this is where you configure what we call structured output. So typically you say, oh, extract information from this PDF file, you send it to your AI. And then you say, so what do you want at the end of it? Do you want to just give me a bunch of text, which you can do, or say, I want you to specifically extract, maybe if you're doing health claims, the patient name, the patient date of birth, the hospital that he went to, extract those particular ones. But how do you want to represent it? How do you want to present it? Typically, you will say, present it in this way: patient name, hospital name, date of birth, patient address. You will give it this format so that everybody, it becomes easier for everybody if we all agree this is the format that we will do. Any questions so far? Does it all kind of gel together for you? Yeah, I know you're all waiting to register, like do something. Before we do this, I would suggest that you create a new Google account via Gmail for this workshop, because you don't really want to mess with your existing work email if you're using Google for any reason, or your personal email accounts, right? It can get very messy, as you can, and it's nice to see all the messages coming in as well. So totally up to you. You can use your personal one, but I would suggest creating a new one. And Google Mail, don't use other email because it's integrated with a lot of other products that we will use, like Google Drive, Google Sheets. So definitely go with Google if you can, and because it's free, there's no excuse not to use it, right? You will use this account to sign up with multiple service providers. Like what I said, you might encounter problems if you use a company laptop. Pair up with somebody if you have this issue. The setup process will seem very tedious, so you really have to take off your actuary hat and put on a more of an IT hat. But a lot of the processes are one-off effort. Right? Once you do it, the next time you do a workflow, you don't have to kind of re-register yourself. The system knows your passwords or has tokens that allow the processes to work. And what I said, you have to kind of take off your actuary hat, put on your IT hat or workflow automation engineer hat. So if you haven't done so and you wish to do so, can you do the following? Set up a new Google email account. So go to gmail.com. If you want, set up a new Google account. Give yourself a new, username, email address, password. They will ask you to verify this, verify that. Easily takes up 5 to 10 minutes. For those who are happy and say, okay, I just want to proceed on with my Gmail account or whatever account that you want to use, you can go to https:/n8n.io. There is a sign up form that you can sign up for a new account. Please sign up. For a new account, you should come to this particular screen when you log in. So please do that right now. So just to go through what are the kind of exercises that we're going through today, we'll be doing a few of the exercises. The first 2 are like your warm-up exercises, right? The third one would start to involve a bit of AI already. And then we will try to kind of transition slowly towards a more insurance-related kind of claims processing system. Hey, sounds good. We'll try to kind of cover as much as possible. I do warn you, this one is a little bit involved. The setting up of Google Drive, I don't know why Google makes it so difficult, but probably for security reasons. But this one is a bit more complicated to set up. You could actually, from here, migrate to this one pretty easily. Yes, pretty easily. Okay, so we'll just go through the example so you know what's happening. Let's go. Okay, so you are in this screen. What you will do now, I'll just orientate you a little bit. So this one is like a bit of a dashboard. So you've got, if you have been running your automations, it will tell you what's the failure rate, how many times it runs, how many times it executed, what are the run times. A lot of the settings are here as well as here. But what you really want to do next is you want to create a workflow. So begin by creating a workflow. I will open up the workflow that we will be creating today, which your weather, the first one, which is your weather report. So when you create a new workflow, you will not see this portion, it will just be a blank canvas. Can we have that? Okay, on your blank canvas, you will have two things that you can see. On the left one is like the start trigger or something that's got to do with start, right? Click on the start trigger. Let's see what that no, so you would add first step. Yeah, so you kind of have to add a first step, right? And the first step is, let's do a schedule trigger. So this one schedule trigger is like a workflow that requires you to maybe start something at 3 a.m. in the morning or run something every hour on the hour. Okay, so you would create something called like a starting workflow, which is like a schedule trigger. So search for schedule trigger, right? On the schedule. Yeah, so find a schedule trigger and click. So it will create a schedule trigger for you, right? So I've already created one, but I'm going to go through with you creating another one. So you can say, what is the trigger interval? How often do you want it to be triggered? Okay, so for this, let's put it to minutes. Let's have every 15 minutes we do this activity because you want a weather report. I mean, your OCD, you want a weather report every 15 minutes, right? Because you're afraid that it will rain and you're working from home and the clothes that are out to dry might get wet. So you add the rule, right? And then it will ask you a little bit more things as well. So trigger interval, like, okay, I want minutes. Between the triggers, I want 15 minutes between the triggers. Oh, actually, I don't need that rule. I just have this is enough. I don't need this. So you just need this one is enough. You don't need that many. You don't need to add the rule. So you go back to canvas, right? So forget about this. This is what we're going to build. And just in case I forget anything, I can refer to it as well, right? This is the one that you are building that I'm building with you. So you will start off with this. You have built the trigger. The second thing that you want to add is something called open weather map because you want to get the weather reports. But how do you get the weather reports, right? So there's this website called Open Weather Maps that has services that you can subscribe to that gives you weather reports. So again, you click on this plus button and then you open up this again. So you can see the process is very adding notes, but you must know what notes to add. So look for Open Weather Map. Okay, they should give you something that looks like this. Click on this, and then what you want is return weather data for the next. Return current weather data. Let's try that one. Let's see how that goes. So you want to do things like, okay, for those who have not, the first time coming in, you will see some sort of red thing over here. Is that right or wrong? Is there some sort of red thing or like credentials? Yes, because you haven't set up credentials yet. So typically you need to go into this screen, right? And then you will have something in red. This is success. That means I already set up before. So It's a one-off effort. Once you set it up, it's so much easier the next time. So mine is successful because I've done it, before. Yours is not successful. And what you need to do is you need to look for this thing called access token, which is blank right now. Okay. In order to do that, you need to go to yes. So you go to openweathermap.org, home.openweathermap.org. You need to create an account. It's free. Once you create an account, you will log in. This is the screen that you will encounter. You go to API keys and you generate API keys. So it will give you something that looks like this. This is the API token. You need to copy and paste back into NAN to allow it to work. Does that make sense? Trust me, this whole exercise, half the time you're just registering for services. Half the time you're just generating nodes, and the rest of the time you just cannot. Actually, no, actually can. Theoretically, it could work. I don't know. I mean, we can give it a try, right? Okay, I'm going to give you token, right? But it might not work tomorrow because I'm going to shut everything down. Yeah, but okay, no problem. So for those who are lazy, once your sign in is successful, there's no token involved in this one. So I assume in the background, they would have stored some sort of authentication token within the system so that you can continuously call Gmail. So in the end, you must be able to see the green light. This must work. Yes. That's why people want to sell hosts.
So if you sell hosts, what you need a server?
Yeah, your IT will provide that. Or you can run it on the cloud within your own cloud infrastructure. Can also. There are a few hoops to jump over. It's not as straightforward. But if your IT savvy, can do it in like half an hour. You just look at the YouTube videos. There's like maybe 4 or 5 YouTube videos that tell you how to sell hosts on Oracle Cloud or AWS. Just a half an hour. Wow. It's not that difficult if you are comfortable in the cloud environment. Half of the time, it's about getting the budget approved. It's about setting permissions. It's about, depending on your experience, hardening the environment so it's more secure. Setting up the things step by step. If you watch the video, you just do along. That's all. It's the added thing whereby, wow, I scared why it cannot hack how. How do I make it more secure? How do I enable this particular user to access but not other users to access? It's setting out the permissions that you want. So are we all signed in? All done? Okay, now is the miracle part, right? So you have done this. You need to connect close. Okay, so you need to set this to be a message. Send to put your email address, the new email address that you have created in Gmail or whatever email address you have using. Okay, I'm going to open up the other version so that you can see what is the correct settings for this, right? So this is what I do. This is the email that I'm using. Today's weather report is the subject line of the email. But basically, you are writing a template for the email that you want to send to yourself or whoever. Okay, so this is the subject line, today's weather report. Email type set to text. Okay, in terms of message, this is what you will type. Hi, the current temperature is, and in order to create this thing, right, you will drag and drop. You will go to wherever is, oh, you can't do it here as well. You can actually take the minimum or maximum temperature. You can drag from here to here, whatever is the data that you want. Does it make sense? So in this case, I drag main temperature. So there's like a main temperature somewhere that I can drag and drop. This here lah. Then humidity, I can get from here. Temperature, I can get from main temperature. So this one I can drag. When you drag and drop, it will look like this. or you can type, totally up to you. But drag and drop seems to be easier. So temperature, you can drag and drop, drag here, put here. It's nothing. I don't have so many. You don't have so many. Do you have schema that you can open? Or JSON that you can open? Nothing. Okay, that's okay. In the case that you have nothing, what we can do is we can actually run you need to run it so that you can create data along the way. So if you have problems with, so what you can do is you can hover around your schedule trigger, right? You open it, and then you just say execute the step, the red button. Okay, execute the step shouldn't give you anything. It just gives you some time information. Okay, so this is the output if you execute that step. Doesn't give you not much information, right? Just execute the step. But you should see right side got something, right? Just some time information, some minutes, second, hours, date, time, day of the week. Then you go to open weather map, you open it up. There's the ... right? You press open. So we were here just now. You can also execute the step again. When you execute the step, you can see on the right hand side, there's a lot of things, right? All the weather information start to feed in. Okay, good. Because when you go to the third step, send a message. If you open up this step and open, on the left hand side, now you can see all the different things being filled up. Do you all see on the left hand side all the information being filled up? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So from that lot of stuff, you need to read out what is the important stuff that you want. So for now, you're interested in the main, right? You're interested in the temperature. You're interested in humidity, right? You're interested in what's the country that we are in right now, right? There's the name. Yeah, there's a name of the country. So you can say, hi, the temperature is, then you drag from main, temperature. So this one you can drag, right? This one you can drag over here. Once you drag over there, it will give you this expression. Do you all get this? Because I want metric. But you can choose Fahrenheit as well, up to 0.
So it automatically passes the JSON.
Yes. Or it knows that, oh, you want this, okay, this is how it's being represented. And the background, it is JSON. This whole thing is some sort of expression in JSON, and then it's just doing this.
So any API service or
yes. Yes, and it doesn't have to be API. It can be any JSON on this side of it. But everything is returning JSON anyway, so.
So like REST API call come back JSON.
JSON, then you just go through a process to output more JSON. Try to use JSON because it's just like keep everything sane.
Can you take XML?
I never tried XML. It's not so common to find XML services these days. Do you all manage to get?
No, I think I haven't.
Okay, so once you finish this, there's an add option. When you add option, add append NAN attribution, switch it off, because your emails, right, you will say this is created from NAN and things like that. You don't want that. So it is suggested that you add this option, undo it, disable it, so that it doesn't give you that message at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I find
Okay, and for those who have completed, who have worked very hard, execute the step. Because when you execute the step, go into your Gmail account or whatever email account that you want to send to, monitor for the message coming in from the other side. Yes. Yes. Disable it, lor. Like, I'll show you how to make it active and deactivate it. But make sure that your workflow can work first. That's the first step. Make sure the workflow can flow. Make sure when you go to the email, you receive the email for the weather. Receive, right? Just take note, if you went to your send folder, you will see that actually you are sending yourself the email. Okay, potentially you can also send to somebody else, not yourself. I've not tried it, but potentially you can put maybe a semicolon and add a few other recipients as well. I've not tried that. Feel free to try it, if you know of you have other email accounts that you want to send to. So there's this so before you get out of this, remember to click save to save this workflow. And then there's the option to rename the workflow as well, I'm not mistaken, right? From here, there's like a rename. If you want to rename this weather report, something that makes more sense to you, you can. So there's the option here, ... You can choose rename. It will give you a message box to rename this workflow.
I tried the agent.
Yes, little we can try. It's all quite fun at the end. So once you're done, right, you can go back. I forgot saving because I'm quite happy. Now, when you talk about from now on, you're thinking every 15 minutes you're going to hit me with an email. Only if you make it active. So when you're in this screen, I think I might have saved something that I shouldn't save. Yeah, so you see the schedule trigger will now trigger execution on the schedule you have defined. Only when you activate that one, then you will start to every 15 minutes. If not, it will not. So if you click OK, it will become active. This will run on the schedule every 15 minutes. If you don't want it, disable it, and then it will not run on the schedule. Is everyone able to get the emails in, with the weather reports? Any feedback from this exercise? How do you feel about registering for all the services? It's pretty useful. I think it's useful, especially if you have tasks that you need to start like maybe 3 a.m. in the morning, and you don't want to wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning to start a task, or 4 a.m. You could kind of like schedule, this one kickstart at this time, kickstart at that time, coordinate, notify you via email if something has gone wrong, or something has completed or not completed. So I like the email notification and the status, what's happening, quite useful. Any other thoughts that you might find this to be?
So those kind of things like our personal needs to have the notification and to run that NAN probably is one solution rather than have your own circle.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
For example, you're monitoring, some stocks prices and things like that, and you want to monitor on a 15 minutes basis. You can do that. If it gets out of a certain range or certain conditions get met, email notify me.
Oh, can you interact with MetaTrader and set buy order?
I don't know. You could look for the note, no?
But you need a NAN.
No, now you need or not? You don't need what? You need lah. You will need lah eventually, yeah. But I think they have I can't remember whether it's the free tier, but I don't think so. They removed the free tier. Previously they had free tier, right? But now there's no free tier. But
How much is it?
you can check the pricing is there. Yeah. So
Actually, our company always have those disaster recovery stuff. Can use this kind of things. No need human like we can go to certain spot to do recovery.
But it can to your business recovery have an API or not? Don't dare. Must have API, if not you cannot trigger the work.
So we need to build an RPA first, then host the RPA one.
I don't know.
Human go in and certain
No,
script.
these days, I think cloud-based recovery, right, is almost automated already. If you're on AWS, right, you can provision to have something on standby. So if this one is down, immediately this one will spring up. And in like 5 minutes time, all the traffic will all go to this device.
All this works on the basis that the API still continue to exist.
Yes, so if you're talking about AWS outage, everybody, there's no, sorry, no work is going to be done.
No, okay, so for example, like this weather thing, once they shut down this weather site, then that's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
How are you informed whether APIs are still there?
It will fail. You will get a failure in your run. So you can check for failure as well. So if you check for failure, the output is usually you will check if your API call response is okay. There's a particular status code. It will give you 200. If it fails, it will give you 400 or 401, 402, 403, 404, depending on the kind of failure. So you can monitor for this code, status code. So this API is based on HTTP protocol, and this protocol has certain things in terms of how you ask for, how you request for things, and what is the response, and what kind of codes to make status codes that you can check for to make sure that the response is error or okay. So usually the okay code is 200. You need to be a bit of a web developer to do this kind of thing. So you know this 200, 400 code is standard. Are we ready for the second workflow automation? Okay, so second workflow automation is gift declaration registry. So you will again create a new workflow. I will have created a workflow already. Okay, the new product that we are going to use is actually, we will explore forms as well as Google Sheets. Right, so you need to register Google Sheets later on, but we'll do it one step at a time. Can you go and start off with looking for form submissions or search for form submissions? You're supposed to create an icon that looks like this. Okay, look for something that on form submission or form submission as a trigger, as a start.
So we add another workflow.
Yeah, create a new workflow from scratch.
So where do we do? Where on the same?
No, so you should go to your home, right? Your home screen, right? Go back to your home screen, right? The red button, create workflow, go and create a new workflow. We will do a gift declaration registry. So you might even want to start renaming called gift declaration registry. So this workflow arises out of compliance. You know, you all work in financial services. One of the things that we need to do is declare gifts. Above a certain value, you need to declare. Actually, any value, just declare, right? Just keep yourself safe, right? Right, you all remember? So imagine you're doing a system that looks like this, whereby people can submit in a form their name, what's the gift, what's the value of the gift, and the date, the submission date, or date of receipt of the gift. So you need the form filled up so people can can give the information. Then you need to store it in some sort of database or Google Sheets, right? So that you can audit, right? So this is the workflow that actually does that. And if the gift is above a certain value, you want to be notified, right? Because you cannot be above a certain value. You need to like, why is it above a certain value? So you want to be notified with a check to see if it's above a certain value. Notify me via email. Make sense? So this is the entire workflow. So have you all managed to create a form? No, nothing. Cannot find.
And form.
What is it? NAN form.
Correct.
Yeah, it should look something like this. And how you know it's correct, right? Let me double check with you. So here you open. So if you open, you will see something that looks like this. Okay. So you will see NAN actually in the background will create a form for you. But you need to give it some specification, what kind of things you want in your form. So this is what you do. This one you don't need to worry about. Authentication, put none. Form title, put gift decoration. Form description, put decoration on the receipt of gift. You will create a few fields. Right. The first field is name of recipient. It is text. As a placeholder, that means an example grayed out one, you put John Tan. It is a required field. So this is the first field. The second field you want to create is a gift description. It is also a text field. An example for placeholders, put clock and notebook. It is also a required field.
What do you put as placeholders? Some examples.
Yeah. So sometimes you see like in forms, right, they gray out, like there's a gray. Is you need to fill up, but they give you an example, so it's easier to fill up the form. Okay, for those who are a little bit faster, third field is give value brackets in USD. This is a number field. As an example, you put 500. So you also need to, this is important because you want to capture the value of the gift. So depending on how high or low it is, above a certain threshold, your compliance team will investigate. It is also a required field. Actually, all fields are required fields. After that, you have a date received field. It is a date field, and it is a required field as well. So 4 required fields: the name, the gift description, the gift value, which is a number, as well as the date received date field. So once this is set up, you actually want to test whether it works. So execute step. So what you will see is it will create or open up a new window for you. You can actually put in all the values that you have as an example. Put in some values. Like put in a name, put a description, whatever description that you want, give it a value, whatever you want, and then the date. It's nice because it provides the user interface, for example, dates to date pick. So you don't even have to create the user interface, it creates it for you automatically, which is quite convenient.
So I see an error. Like where do I see the log?
Later on you can see, I'll show you, and then I'll show you the execution. There's like a execution thing that you can see for all the things every time it executes. You have to go back to the home screen, go back to the home screen. The home
Because I'm trying to execute this step. So
what does the error say?
this problem running.
Huh?
Please resolve.
don't create this one first. Resolve one at a time. There are too many errors going on.
Yeah.
So you just do one at a time. Yes. So everybody managed to do this and execute. So once you manage to execute, you are supposed to get hopefully something on this side. Do you have something on this side? Okay, so step one is that. Okay, everybody happy with step one. Let's proceed to step two. Okay, which is a pen roll. So you need to go search for Google Sheets. And then when you get Google Sheets, look for a pen roll in sheet. And I don't know because I don't use Excel for this one. I use Google. But it has Excel integration one. Got Excel integration. So can.
So sign in.
Wait. What's that at the time? Yes. So once you find this, right? I open up. You will have the usual problem because it's the first time. The first time, right? You will need to make sure this works. So sign in Google again. Okay, but you just need to do it one time. Then after that, you're clear. So before we proceed, what I need you to do is, in order for the rest of the steps to work, you need to create a Google Sheets for it to know that you exist. Like a Google spreadsheet that it exists, the Google Sheets where you need to input all the different things. So you need to go back to Google and create in your Google Drive or whatever, you need to create a gift registry Google Sheets so that it can find the Google Sheets that it wants to output the output to. So create a sheet called gift registry. If you open this up, right, sorry, I think I already got this open. You will see recipient name, gift description, gift value, and date received. Exactly the things that the form is trying to capture. So create a Google Sheets, call it whatever you want. I call it gift registry, right? Because later on, you're going to have to reference it again. And it should be the same Gmail account as your, just now the Gmail account. Try not to use a separate Gmail account. No, keep it consistent. Right, recipient name, gift description, gift value, and date received. Okay, you don't have to put in the data. The data, it will automatically append for you. You just need the first row, the column names.
The name not in hyphen one, the score.
You can hyphen, you can don't hyphen, it understands. It's okay. It's just it's a habit of mine to hyphen. So remember, try to save it in the root directory. It just makes it easier for the thing for NAN to find. So you should be here. So a lot of the things that we're doing directly in my drive, you should be able to see it here.
Will it insert into your blank file?
Yes, it will insert into your gift registry file.
You need a header.
Yes, you need the header because it will match against the header. So what you need is you will need the header and only the header. Only the headers. You don't need the data.
The same headers.
It can be different. So as you remember which one is for which purpose lah. It doesn't have to be in order. It doesn't have to be in order because you can do the matching later on. You will see. But you need. I'm just showing you. You need to have at least these 4 items which you are trying to capture. Okay, so for those who have completed, we go back into NAN. Now, when you do this, right, you should have a pen roll. Now, document from this, if you go to this drop down, you should be able to find your gift registry or whatever Google Sheets that you call it to be. So once you give it access, it will go and look for all the files that's in the directory and try to find, give you a list of which one is the Google Sheets that you are referring to. You should be able to find the name of the Google Sheets that you just created. After you identify the Google Sheets, you must identify the sheet name. So I rename my Google Sheet registry. So if you look at this, it's called registry at the end. I renamed the sheet name to be registry. If you didn't, it would be sheet 0 or sheet 1 or something like that, right? The naming convention. So you must tell NAN what is the sheet name. In this case, I put it as registry. Some of you might have given different names for your column names in the sheets, right? And the order is also different. So you might want to map each column manually. So your whatever column you want and what is the column name, you can manually match them now. So I've got, so it's very smart. It goes into the Google Sheets. It takes all the different column names. What you need to do is you need to drag and drop from the left-hand side into the recipient name, the gift description, gift value as well as the date received. You need to drag and drop to the correct column that you want. Everyone done? Happy? Let's test the workflow to see whether it works. So this one should have run already, right? So let's see. I have, oh, need to run again. So let's execute that step. So if you want, you can test the entire workflow up to this point in time, right? So let's say I put Mr. Tan, right? He received t-shirt. It costs $10 and he received it when yesterday. Submit. Okay, so you have this data on the right hand side. Perfect. Next step, you go to append row in sheets, right? Open. That same data should be on the right hand side, on the left hand side, right? Because you just submitted the form. So it pumps the data through to the next stage. If you execute this step, once it's finished executing, you can see something on the right hand side already. If you go to your gift registry, Mr. Tan's t-shirt should be there as well. Do you see that result?
Many people come and fill out the form there.
It just run lah. You have.
Depending who faster.
Yeah. Then what you want me to do? Sit down there and take your order. Wait the time. Okay, are you satisfied? So next step, you want to have a notification if the gift value is above a certain amount. So what happens is, go back to gift NAN. You need to create this particular node. Okay, you need to create an if node. So go and look for an if node to create.
Also, each logic is one node on its own.
Yes.
Then there's your else node.
Yes. Or if else node, depending on what kind of node that you want to do. But keep it simple lah. Keep it simple lah. For now, let's keep it simple. We just create an if node.
And if is on top, then else is below, right?
Yeah. If true, then you do this. If false, then you do this. I know, right? Win already, right? Can execute your trade for you already, right?
But you don't know what if the price suddenly drop, they say buy there, wow, you gonna this spread.
Not my problem. Your own trading risk. You need to make it robust lah, right? Keep on monitoring.
What's the execution time? Because you submit order, and you submit at 100, the price drop to 90, you lose 10 bucks.
True lah. But if it doesn't hit that price, you will not execute also, ma.
You won't.
Actually, the broker account
You
already
set
know
you set certain limits, price limits, right? You won't go above or below a certain price, right? You set certain limits.
Buy market.
No, you just sit there and buy, lor. Right? You sit on the screen and buy, lor. So when you have found that, have you all found the if node? Okay, now you open up the if node. Right, so drag and drop value to the left hand side here. Greater than, in this case, your company policy, anything that's greater than 250 USD unit alert. Huh? Then what you want me to do? I already told you must number. So when you set drag and drop is greater than 250, you can execute. It's quite straightforward. It will set to true. Oh no, output. True branch, false branch. You might want to try with string, right? Convert types where required. It's smart. It might have some not guaranteed, but it will try its best to convert what is string into a value so that you can do the evaluation. But it is not guaranteed to work. But it will try if you set this. So if you are a bit, you want to give it a try, if it's string, you don't want to correct it, you can try this. Not recommended. Try to get because the logic might flow elsewhere in different ways when it gets very complex. You don't want to start debugging and changing at that point. So in this case, it doesn't go to the true branch. Why? Because it's $10. It doesn't trigger the notification. But let's continue on this process so that when we have the entire process and we put a $300 value or for anything above 250, you will see that trigger. Okay, so what happens? I will leave the last exercise up to you, which is exactly the same as the previous exercise. Gmail, send a message, create that message, create details that you want to tell whoever is receiving the message about this breach in the threshold, and complete that node. So how is the mobile experience for those who are mobile? Hard to use. Okay. But on the desktop, are you all appreciating this low code kind of, and once you set it up once, for example, your Gmail or Google Sheets, you don't have to set it up the second time. It will remember the credentials. Yes. you can get all the stocks and shares that you bonds, and then you can kind of do you can do a valuation every month. No lah, you won't 25. This one is based on every time you run, it will cut, it will eat to your credits. But if you only run once a month, you shouldn't self-host law. So you want to pay them or you want to self-host?
So self-host is free.
No lah, you pay for the self-hosting, you pay for the cloud, you pay for the server and all that kind of thing. Can. There are some will cost like maybe $5, $6 USD. There are some hosting providers that one click it will just set everything up for you. Like Hostinger and things like that. They have already tied up with NAN. So there is like you pay for this one-click solution. You look at Google, there are plenty of this kind of tutorial teach how to do this. So it doesn't have to be that expensive, especially when there's sensitive data. You don't want to share with everybody. Because once any end cannot hack, right, everybody's credentials is out. Not safe. It is dangerous. But as a learning tool, okay, it's okay for now. Yes. I don't think so. Yeah. So you might have one step whereby you redact the kind of information, or you don't capture it in the first place, lah. Right? It's you who captured the information, what, in the first place. I know lah. Then you self-host. The only solution I think is self-host. So that
this kind, right? Like my company, they will promote into the cyber account. Then you still store your credentials there somehow. Then it's safer, like, because the cyber art is safer. So I don't know this kind is can.
Yes, enterprise version has SSO SAML integration. Can. So are we happy? Now can we initiate the entire process from end to end? So can you go here, right? Open up, execute again. But in this case, make sure that your gift value is above $250 or whatever threshold that you have set. So let's go with Mrs. Lee receive a diamond necklace that is worth 1,000 USD. Right, and receive on 10th of November. Submit. Okay, you can see right hand side is outputted. Great. Let's run row append. Actually, you can just run this. I think it should work. Right. So if you're lazy to open all of them, you can just click on this play button. And if you stick, it does successfully. Double check your gift registry. Make sure Mrs. Lee diamond necklace is in your Excel spreadsheet. After that, you go on to run your if else statement. It runs successfully. You can run this. If you don't receive a message, right, it doesn't mean that it didn't work. It's just that it's not triggered. There's nothing to trigger it. But if you run this, you should receive an email about this gift exceeding USD 250. So this is what I did, right? I have an email that says this is a new gift registry with the following details: the name, the item, the value, the date received. Please reach out and investigate. So this is the kind of formatting that you can do. It's totally up to you. Let's see whether we received it. Yes, I have an alert for gift exceeding 250 Mrs. Lee's necklace. Do you all receive? Good. Okay. So can we save the workflow before we lose it? If you want to rename it, feel free to rename it as well. Go back to home. There are a few things that I want to highlight to you. First things first, all the credentials that you have created are listed here. So you can have a list of all credentials that you have created. You can modify them if there's any access token changes and things like that. I think there's some options for you to update, open and update those tokens and things like that. In terms of executions, every time it executes, there is some, execution log. So you can look at execution, look at the logs of the execution, whether it passed, whether it failed. So there's some sort of audit that can go on as well. You might want to store some variables to use across your workflows. For example, there are certain, like, if you're doing a very personal thing, like maybe your NRIC number or whatever, certain things that you want to store over here, try not to store sensitive information. But if there are certain variables like date of birth or something that you say, okay, it's very standard, or address, I live here, I don't want to keep on filling up my address for certain forms, this might be a place to store certain variables. Or when you receive certain information from your forms, you want to store it in variables so that you can propagate it to other workflows as well. This is a place to store it. I haven't explored data tables, but they are used to persist execution results shared between. So this is something kind of like a database where you can store things, and then if you're executing another workflow, it can get data from these data tables to be used in other workflows. Any questions so far? Is it?
Learn a lot.
Yes. Yes, you need to add on separately. You need to. I haven't explored this feature myself, but you need to add variables. You can add variables separately. Okay, so looks like our tea break is here. Let's break for tea. So we've done the first two kind of workflows. The third one is a peculiar one, a particular one. I've shared the link on CodeShare. So if you go to the link on CodeShare, so what happens is NAN allows you to share your workflows as templates, what we call templates. So some are paid, some are free, and you might be able to find something that suits your purpose. One thing to note, there might be a little bit of a security risk when you start using other people's workflow, because they might be calling services or using services or asking you to register for certain services that may or may not be secure. So take very important note of that if you are using other people's templates, there might be some security risk involved. Okay, so if you want, open this particular URL. It's available in CodeShare, so you should be able to see in CodeShare as well. And from there, you should be able to complete and continue on this workflow.
Yeah.
So there's a button, right, called use for free. Use for free. Click. Then after that, it will give you the option import this into your workspace. Click again. Click. No, use so step by step. You click use for free. You click import template.
I think get started free with and job tech.
But you don't get this.
Don't have,
Huh?
Yeah, we have
I thought it's my own problem. So if you get started, also can link to our
you just
website.
get started free
Yeah.
and edit and start it.
Yeah.
Ah,
We don't have to
okay.
import.
Right.
I don't know. I never use that option. I usually use this option. Then, yeah, then okay, then you have to import lah. Sorry, have to import. Oops. So after import, you have to add the key, right? Have you all added the key for those who are able to do that? Can you import or not? Still cannot import. Import the template. So once you import the template, you need to set the key, everything set already. Then you should see something that looks like this. Okay, I'm going to use my correct version because some of them need to adjust a little bit. Okay, basically this use case is for job application, right? You type your name, you upload your CV, it records, who is the candidate, in your Google Sheets. It will take your CV as a PDF, will convert it to text. From the text, it will go through an AI to extract the important information to score the candidate based on a certain score. So this one is where you put in the job requirements for your AI to score your candidates and justify in the reasoning. And then after that, you will add that to your CV, the Google Sheets, the results. So what you're supposed to get at the end of the day is supposed to look something like this, right? You will submit your name and email. The AI will give your CV a score based on the job requirement that you specify. And then it will tell you, give you some comments like what's the reasoning. Make sense?
That's how the marking exams
Is it? I don't know leh. I haven't gonna ask the university lecturer or the secondary school whether they're using this to do it. There is some controversy to ask, do I really need to go to school and get my teachers to mark this if it's all AI? But then there's the controversial thing whereby if I'm also creating the essay using AI, then does it really matter? Then who is actually doing any work in that process? Who is doing any work in that process? Who is learning anything and contributing what the hell is happening, in terms of education? There needs to be a rethink about the whole educational process with this. Honestly, next week there will be a conference in NTU regarding this, and I posted some things on my thoughts on the adult education side. Because you are old school, you're not young, you're not like young chickens anymore. Yeah, you're old chickens, right? You come from the old school, you know your stuff because you had to write your essays by hand, you have to calculate using calculator, there was no AI. The generations that have been coming through the past few years, they are brought up on AI. And mobile, right? So they are not going to write by hand. They say doesn't make sense. It's just wasting my time, right? They're using AI. But how do you? They are our future doctors, engineers, clinicians, bus drivers. They don't know stuff the way we know stuff. Are you not worried? When you are old, and then these doctors and nurses, they don't memorize the anatomy and physiology, they don't know statistics, they are, they don't have that understanding of that, having to train our own neural networks in our minds to do certain calculations.
Wi-Fi better now.
Yeah, better the AI don't outage, right? So let's go through this workflow and see how it works. So I'm going to go with the one that works for me, so that at least if you want to configure, you can. Okay, you don't have to do it, but at least I know we are a bit short of time. You don't have to do it, but let me give you. So what's good about this workflow that you template import, right? It has a lot of documentation for you, so it guides you along the way. You have already taken the most difficult step, which is the access tokens. Trust me, don't want to deal with that. Just one off, and then you don't have to deal with that anymore. But so you see. There were some questions about, so how does the whole workflow work, right? You need to look at the icons, and the start trigger is very important. In this case, the start trigger has this kind of like rounded shape. It's very different from this square shape. There's this rounded shape. That means these are all starting points of the workflow. Okay. The circle is more of like outsourced to different models and different parts of it. Right? But it still is, the output will go back here. So it's like outsourced to here, right? Google, you can do whatever AI thing you need to give me the response. Right? And then output, before I output, I need to make sure it's JSON, because the output from here is not JSON friendly. So I use a JSON output parser to make it JSON friendly. So the next stage, right, is very easy to remember the drag and drop for your mapping. It's easier for the next stage to use the data and drag and drop into the correct column. So it's very common, particularly if the output is a bit messy, you want to kind of tidy up so that the JSON output will do the tidying up for you.
So the JSON output parser is commonly used or only for this
a lot of web developers would use JSON by default.
I mean, this JSON output parser is this route.
Parsing is a common.
It's a common. I mean, I will use it lah. Because
does this one need like the access key?
No need. It's just to reorganize the data. It's like an email format. I must have a send to who, what's the subject title, what's the body, that kind of thing. So it's more of like a formatting that it is like access token to me. So what happens here is you want to start here, and this is just one process separate from the rest of the process. This is one off, because you only need to create your CV spreadsheet one time. So when you run this, you start here, you can run this, and then you will run this to create the CV. I'm not going to run it because I already have. So what happens is it goes to your Google Drive and it creates a CV, right? And this CV has different columns that you can create. Okay, because these are the things that you want to store. Okay, you need to create it one time only. You don't need to create it multiple times. After that, your actual process starts. Okay, your form filling starts. So it goes here, right? You can. So this is what we've done before. This is forms. Okay, I have a name, I have an email address, and I have this is slightly different, a file upload. So it allows for you to upload your CV. If I run this execution step, this is what I get. So let's, for example, Joe Tan, right? Joe Tan, the name is joetan@gmail.com. Right, I upload a fake. This is a real one. So SAS 3. So let's have like a fake. Okay, let me upload a real one. So let's upload my one, right? Some shameless. So you see how your forms can be reformulated for CV application purposes. Think about it. If you have like an insurance claim form, can you use that same process? It's exactly the same process. But yeah, Mistral. Right. So once you've executed this process, the details are captured on the right-hand side. You can go to your next step. And your next step is, there's two things. You can log onto your Google Sheet. So what happens is, I can execute this step first so that you can see what is the output. Okay, I run this step. I should see a Joe Tan here. Right, this is what we expect. In parallel, I can run Mistral. So what this particular node do is, I give me a PDF file. It gives me back the contents of the PDF in text format. That's all that it does. Okay, so you can open up the node, take a look at what it does, right? Open up the node. Okay, so you can see the uploaded CV and my details. I can execute this step. And then whatever comes out is just text. All the text about in the PDF file, it just converts it to text. And you can see it, and it gets transferred to the next step, which is your AI step. So in this AI step, you see all my particulars, my address, personal information, all that should be deleted from the, so it's all there. So it managed to extract all the information out from the CV. But now it goes through the AI. Now AI, in order to use it properly, you need to give it a prompt. So I just created a prompt, so this is the template prompt. And the job is a front-end developer position. It's not anything actuarial, but this is by default. You need to modify this for the job position. And then you need to, talk about the role and what is it about. And let the AI do the hard work. Now, importantly, this node is slightly different. There are two things that you can add. One, the AI that you want to use, which is Google Gemini Lite, as well as the output JSON parser, because the output from the AI is a bit messy, you want to tidy it up, right? So you can click here to specify the model that you want. Okay, in order to do that, you need to make sure that your API access is accessible. That's why I gave you the token, right? And then it can do sampling temperature if you want some variability in the response. If you go back up again, right, you can come down to the output JSON to specify what kind of output that you want. This is the default. So they've already set things up for you in terms of two things: the qualification rate, or like, what is the number, how well is this candidate qualified for the role, as well as some reasoning or description or explanation to justify. Not very accurate in this case, but well, one of those things. You need a more powerful model. So when you run this execution, right, it will run. It will give two things: a number between 0 and 1, and some reasoning. Okay, you can see here there's a number. I'm scored 0.85. So I actually can become a front-end web developer. And it gives you some sort of reasoning. Okay, so you finish this step, you're quite happy about this step, and now you want to go and, so take note, your CVs currently, these two are not filled up, right? Not filled up. If you run the final node, just run, right? And you go back into the CV, it gets filled up. Does that make sense to you? So usually other use cases that actually, as an exercise, I wanted you to complete this one and then modify this one so that you can use for health claims or any other claims. You capture the information that you want, which may include like, you need to have your policy number so that they can, store and double check that your policy is still in force, your name, date of submission, give us some evidence, fill up some form with regards to when the accident happened, or what's the medical invoice that you have, submit it, so it will do the extraction. Whatever is, for example, you're doing medical invoices, you will extract out which hospital, what conditions, how much line items and things like that. It will do an assessment based on this illness, you went for this thing, and given your policy, does it cover this thing by how many percentage? And then if it's below a certain claim amount, maybe you just want to, STP it straight through. So this one can trigger a payment thing as well. Or I say, okay, this claim is rather unusual and large. It could be fraud. This, direct a weird one to go to like a fraud department or compliance department to double check. So there's possibilities to modify this particular workflow for kind of claims or form submission. Does that, make sense to you? Would you be able to modify, certain things and certain descriptions to satisfy your use case?
If you go to the claims department, it even
No, it doesn't go to any department. This is just a workflow. It's not anywhere. This is just a workflow.
What I'm saying is that it goes out, and then that external party will need to email again. So if the email come back, will the system take over again after the email comes back again? So it goes to claim process, and then send the email back to you. Because you send the email via this.
It's not me. This is not mine. It's a system.
But the system then be able to handle the email of the claims.
I've not tried that workflow, but I believe it can read emails. I think if you look at Gmail, there might be ability to read emails and monitor emails. So then it depends if it's a very dedicated email address specifically to response to claims, right? Every time it reads the email, it has to check whether it's a legitimate one. What is the status of that claim? And then you have to write the logic of how it flows. Everything is manual. You have to think about both the technological aspect as well as the business aspect to make sure the whole thing flows properly. And where do you want to start?
For the claim one, the complicated part is the delta part, because for claims, we normally don't get things off chain, right? We will keep asking for evidence, more details. So that's the part, the delta part that need to see how to.
So you need to store it maybe like in a database or something like that, or in a JSON format such that every time you add a new entry,
You know that it's the same person put into the same claim number, I think.
And then I would doubt whether then you have to test your AI, whether if you're using AI to make this kind of claims decisions, whether it's smart enough to go through all the different iterations, be satisfied with all the evidences and the documentation before, if you want it to decide on the claim, whether to pay out.
Human is faster.
Depends. But having said that, there might be some workflows that might be optimized using this method.
Yeah, but it could be like a first screening, right? For example, identify fraud. You're not going to expect the machine to tell you if it's fraud or not, but I might say, well,
You do.
Well,
The probability is
yes, these ones are no. These are the ones that I'm not sure. Maybe some, then maybe another scrape or something will mine those, right? But at least the first cleaning, the ones, these are fine, right? These can be paid, they can be used, right? The ones that be more complicated. At least you narrow down.
Yes, you narrow it down so that the human workload is a bit lesser.
Yes.
The low risk ones get paid out quickly, so it's good for the company as well as everyone.
So for the claim, who is for this policy? How successful?
A lot of testing goes into this part. And then when do you want to cut off? Because if you claim when you pay when you're not supposed to claim, or you need more investigation, right? Then obviously you have lost some money in that process. Yeah. So setting the threshold for this is not easy, and you will get some of it wrong, and you need to manage that risk. There's no other way.
Yeah, and then generally, I mean, these models tend to be always a bit more accommodating than personal experience. You don't find that you get a challenge that you like to get sometimes, right? It has to be always a bit more positive and
So
you know.
instead, actually, we use different model
Yeah.
to challenge each other.
Yeah, I know. The channel, they are more, convergent towards an outcome, right?
Yeah.
Rather than,
So it's quite dangerous.
yeah.
Okay, so hopefully there's some food for thought into this kind of systems and how you might be adapted for your own business process. I'm going to move on to a new, I won't say new topic, but I want to cover the OpenAI agent builder. So OpenAI introduced this thing called Agent Builder just 5 weeks back. This is really a new product. It's slightly more than a month old. Everybody's still figuring out why you can or cannot do this. Very similar to NAN. It has kind of this like node-like structure that kind of connects to each other. So very similar concept. Some people even say this is like direct competition to NAN. It obviously caters mainly to OpenAI's LLM model. So you need to be. No, they will obviously try to promote their own models, like the GPT-4, GPT-5 models. Although it does give you this interface to create certain workflows, putting it into production, you will still need some web development experience. It's not so user-friendly as NAN, where the form is already there. You just submit, it's in production. You can go right now, submit, it will go through the workflow automatically, right? This one still needs some web development if you want to put it into production. But if you're doing some testing, you want to test out the workflow, you want to test out the prompts, this is a very good way of showing what can be done before you decide to pump more money into it. It's great for testing as well. The different features. So for those who are not familiar, and if you want to try out this exercise, go to openai.com and create a new account. This is a separate account from your chatgpt.com account. It is a totally separate account. So this is not directly related. So go to this website to create a new account. Then go to platform.openai.com/agent-builder. You should be able to see this particular screen turn up. We'll just go through as many examples as you can. In the time.
OpenAI.com, the login you say there's a ChatGPT option. Can you log in with ChatGPT account?
Yes, but if after that, right, try to see whether you can go to the agent builder platform. If you cannot, then register separately. But if you can, good. So one of the things that you can create if you are already logged in is what we call a personal accident insurance agent. So you can start with create, totally up to you. But if not, you can see what I've done previously. So this is a very simple agent. And when you create agents, by default, it will give you start an agent. By default, when you create, right, it just give you this tool. So I just think, okay, let's work on this, right? The key thing is every time you click, it will open up some things that you can configure. Okay, so this one, there's nothing much to configure, input as text. What you want to do is the insurance agent. So you want to rename the name, in this case, insurance agent, right? And I say you are a helpful insurance agent providing information on the personal accident PA product. Your response should be short and precise. I've enabled chat history so that as I have a conversation with this AI, it remembers what we have discussed about. I'm using model GPT 4.1. It's not the smartest model, but let's give it a test and see what it says. In terms of tooling, what I have done is I've done what we call a file search. If you give a file search, you can upload one of the PDF files. I've included AIA Solitaire PA product. So everything with regards to product, it will try to reference. And then after that, you can see there's this weird symbol there. That is representation of that PDF file. Anything else? Output is text. Anything more did I do? So I set temperature to 0. One of the things that if you are doing this kind of AI development, right, we set temperatures to 0 because we don't want variability. So every time I give a certain prompt, it will always give the same response. Whereas if you are a consumer, you go to chatgpt.com, you type in something, you get A, you get B, you get A, you get C, you get A, you get D, you get A, you get A, you get 97. right? There's variability. But when you set temperature 0, which is one of the rare things that you can do in this kind of platform, you say A, you get B. You can say A, you get B. When you say A, you always get B. So that is a useful one to to set if you have a choice. And then some kind of miscellaneous stuff. So let's play. So once you have that, you press play button and you can test out your agent. So hi, right? Tell me about yourself. Okay, so it tells you that it's provide you with information about a personal accident. So let's ask about so let me show you what is the product itself, right? So if you open up the Solitaire product, this is what you would see. So this is the product brochure itself that I've uploaded, right? So actually, so I don't have to explain too much to you. So this is AI's product. Just so happen they have a PDF file conveniently. But what's complicated about this product? Multiple benefits, multiple plans. So you want to test how good the AI is and say, okay, what is the accidental death benefit for plan 3? Or what is the accidental medical reimbursement benefit for plan 2? Right? You want to really see, hey, can you extract the right information of, to me or not? Okay, so let's try accidental medical reimbursement benefit for plan 2. Accidental medical reimbursement. Okay, let's see. Tell me the accidental medical reimbursement benefit from plan 2. Should be 3,000, right? Not bad. But I've seen it go wrong, right? So I've seen it go wrong. Any other questions that you want to ask this spot, right? You can ask about optional benefit.
Which plan is more worth it?
Oh, okay, yeah, this one is a very opinionated. It's not like, unless you study some criteria, then you just try to see what it's thinking, right? Let's see. So again, what question?
Assess the feasibility for each plan.
Assess the feasibility of each plan. For example, financial feasibility. I mean, you ambiguous, you also come back. I also don't know what kind of response you get. I mean, you try, you don't try, you also don't know. And your users, honestly, they will whack at it with all sorts of things on Chinese lah, Hokkien, anything Malay. They multiple languages. It's like they will. I've seen this kind of chatbots. They will whack at it with everything and anything on. So be cruel, right?
Does it understand legal also?
Huh? I don't know. It depends on the GPT 4.1, right? So okay, not bad. So there are 4 plans: increasing coverage and premium, right? Age 60 to 65, annual premiums are 246 up to 1,515. Then by age group, correct. Then the coverage for each plan ranges for death benefit. It ranges for 100,000 optional benefits. Feasibility, plan 1 is the most affordable, true. Higher plans offer more comprehensive coverage at higher cost, typically true, right? All plans are financially feasible for different budgets. I can't argue with that, right? All plans are premiums increase with age and occupational risk. That one you can check. That one you can check.
Is that premium per coverage? Which one is the best? Something like that.
Premium per coverage.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one a bit complicated.
Wait, you must tell me what you want me to prompt.
Which plan is the best?
Average per year, right?
Oh. Okay. I don't know. You're testing out the intelligence, right? You might want to use a more powerful GPT model for this purpose, right? We're using 4.1, not smart enough. You probably want to use 5 and high reasoning for that kind of problem. You can try, but that's assuming it understands things like what is occupation 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's so far already, right? Between this age and this occupation class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's important is that you also can check, because a lot of the times when we do AI development, like other than the fact that we need to create all these things and chat going on, right? A lot of time goes into checking whether it extracts the correct information, or this kind of response, is it giving the kind of response that we're expecting? Does it hallucinate? Is there a certain format of tone or voice that it needs to say certain things? Do we need to do guardrails as well? What if you add certain things that is, known to jailbreak the system, right? Are there ways to guardrails and monitor the inputs and change the inputs, or say, oh, this one is like you're obviously trying to break, and give a suitable response. There's a lot of testing that goes on before this can be done well. Are you all satisfied? Does it, in your eyes, does it look, and I would say it's completely accurate, but does it like feel that it's doing a reasonable job in answering the questions?
What's the difference between this and like a custom GPT?
Because nothing,
They can do the same,
it's the same thing. At the background, they are all using the same LLMs with slightly different contexts and configurations, but they're doing more or less the same thing.
So what does agent builder offer?
So based on this, you go through a iterative development, because as a user, you just ChatGPT.com and interact. Now you are creating a system for your users and your customers, your policy holders. You're no longer a user personally of the system. You are designing a system to be used by your policy holders. So this is a whole. This is like a.
So this insurance agent, this box, right? How we train this insurance agent? Or just by the ChatGPT?
So the main area that you would train the agent is the info as well as the context. Your prompt is critical. Your instruction is critical. Your tools, your file is critical. If you want to allow for web searches, you also need to constrain. For example, you can do web search as well, right? Especially when you do, like, can you compare your product with the competitor's product, for example? Then you might want to constrain to certain countries or regions. And you might want to only search certain websites, certain competitors, right? Useful?
How does this compare to the ChatGPT for issue
That one is the underlying technology is the same, but it's being used differently. So this one I can use it as a CV, the same thing. I put the prompt for whatever role that I'm hiring from here, right? I might then I can upload, attach the CV, and then say, can you give me a qualification rate from 0 to 1 for this candidate, and show the reasoning and explanation why I should hire this person based on the qualification. Same thing. You can do the same thing.
Yeah, but I think
yes, you can. There's certain settings you probably can do certain settings.
I think don't have the rest of the other steps.
Yeah, there's other steps, but it's a different kind of tool sets that's incorporating slightly different things. This one is very OpenAI centric. You can see that there are certain nodes that it provides, but it's not so, it can, but it's not so easy to integrate with other systems. Whereas NAN has a lot of integration. It's been around for 6 years. It has a lot more integration with other systems. And it doesn't have a bias towards its AI or anybody else's AI, right? This one, obviously, it will try to push its own AI, its GPT-4, 4.1, 5 products as part of its offering. But with other products, right, I can mix. I can use Mistral to do OCR. I can use Google to do, candidate evaluation. I can use OpenAI for, create an image for marketing or things like that. So it really depends on what you're trying to do and testing to see whether it has the capabilities that you want. They are very similar in certain circumstances.
so. This is be more like building a process around it, and then when you can ensure the more consistency. Because if you define this script, I mean this context, right? You define that once for all, right? And then every time that you need to repeat the same task several times, you use this, so you are ensuring that the things are applied. Why if you just use ChatGPT every time there is a risk that might,
Yeah.
even the output, right? You could potentially define a bit what are the key things that you want, then every time you repeat the same every week or every month, you get it. Whereas ChatGPT, if you ask the same question today, tomorrow you get different layout, different system, different. That's leaving aside the answer to be different, but even the layout, right? It changes even in 5 minutes, the same question, 5 minutes later, it changes the whole.
And the
I can
background,
see the
yeah,
advantage.
they downgrade your models as well. If everybody is busy using the GPT-5, they will downgrade your model. You won't know which model is using if you're on the free tier. It could be 4, 4.1, 4.0, you don't know. It will downgrade your models. But if you are using this, you fix your models. You will fix it to GPT 4.1 or whatever model that you want to use, right? You can fix the model that you want to
I
use.
think each agent you look at use different model as well, which suit for the purpose.
Yes.
So specialized models for specialized agents, whether you want to do generative images, you want to do insurance agents, you want to have more deep thinking and reasoning capabilities, you have to pay more, obviously. But in this case, it appears that you don't have to pay when you're using agent. It's only when you productionize, right, then you do. One thing that you might want to do in terms of explore the features is to look at evaluate, right? Because it looks at all the kind of different questions and answers it goes through, and then you can ask it to pass through, whether, depending on whether the agent is polite, whether the response is accurate. You can ask it to like test itself, evaluate itself, almost like a LLM as a judge kind of process. So there's evaluation process that can go, like for example, what is it? Agent is polite. The agent is accurate, for example. So it's taking the interaction that you have with the agent and see whether and make an assessment whether you think the agent is giving you an accurate response to, and then you just explain that. Fail. Oh, it's fails, right? So what it does is it looks at the response and it says that I reviewed the PDF text reference in the agent's response. For paying for the basic benefit accident is indeed 750 with the annual premium. This matches, yeah. So it will go through like redo and re-evaluate. Ideally, you don't use the same model because if the model, that model cannot pick up the correct view in the table, then the same model is unlikely to pick up the same.
Plan trade is the best value for money and not plan for.
So there might be some, it's AI judging AI, right? God knows whether it's true or false. In the end, if there's some, ideally you have a lot of human created kind of test cases. So you know exactly what you want the recommended answer to be, or you already calculate what the recommended answer should be. Does that kind of make sense? AI testing is still a new field. A lot of time and effort goes into it. A lot. And every time they tweak a little bit of something, tweak a little bit of everything, and the whole testing has to happen all over again. Because like what I said, the agent behavior is very dynamic. It can go from 1 to 3 to 5, and then sometimes you do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then sometimes you do 1 and 5 and doesn't do the rest of the process. As a result of that, the final result could be very different, depending on the slight tweaks in the context, the slight changes in the documents that it uploads. So all of these things can make a big change in the agent behavior, especially when it comes to AI.
I wonder this one can set the memory like in the session, within the session, and how long.
I don't know. I don't think so. You can ask it to review the chat history or store the chat history, but I don't think so. You can. There's not so much custom. Then you have to lang chain and that kind of thing. Any questions? I will stop here for now and like try to conclude the entire session. Hopefully you have a flavor of how the whole thing works and you have time over the next few days, particularly to try out OpenAI agent. It's really user-friendly, much more user-friendly than any app. But in certain sense that it doesn't have that strong an integration with all the different kind of API calls that you can. You can still do API calls, look into the features, but I don't think so it's as extensive as NAN. And if in order to put this into production, you need a web developer. Okay, it's not that straightforward. But people have done it, you'll probably be able to find somebody to do it and host this solution. Okay, we are coming to the end. So some things to think about when you're working on workflow automation. Test. And test not just one path. If you have if-else statements, make sure that you test all the different paths. You have use cases to test all your different paths. Ensure that the benefits are actually accrued based on the automation use case. So a lot of the times, right, you say, oh, let's use AI, make sure that it's scalable and things like that, right? In the end, it's too expensive. That could be one of the reasons why, you actually don't derive the benefit because it just costs too much. Or, cost becomes something prohibitive. And exactly what I've been saying, monitor your token usage. That could cost a lot of money as well. So every time you do an API call, if you are doing it using API calls, right, they charge you on input tokens. That means how long your prompt is. And also output tokens, what kind of response is responding back. So sometimes it's good to set a maximum how long your response is, because sometimes this one can be like 4 or 5 times as expensive as the input tokens. The price is different. And for different models, it's different as well. Take note of data privacy. You might want to redact PII information through the use of AI that is not third party. So usually, sometimes your company is concerned that you're sending your PII information to OpenAI's ChatGPT, right? So maybe if you can redact that information, like blank out or black out the PII information and then send, that is allowed. But the thing is, if you're using AI to do that blacking out, then you have to make sure that the AI is, safe to use as well. So usually you might use a non-AI solution to do the blacking out, or you locally host a specialized kind of OCR and redaction kind of AI locally. It doesn't have to be very smart. It just needs to do one specialized task, which is redact the PII information. So that could be possible as well as part of the workflow. Security. Now that my API tokens are out in the open, next thing I should do is just revoke every single one of them. So do make sure that you secure your IT accounts, especially when it comes to the different APIs and tokens and things like that, because it's going to cost you money. Operational risk, make sure that there's contingency plans if there's an outage, ensures that your workflows are logged if they need to be audited and checked. And adhere to governance and risk management policies, particularly on data, AI, and IT security. So make sure that it also kind of meets those requirements. Can be very difficult. So in conclusion, I have gone through your workflow automation technologies as well as recent developments. You've had quite a lot of NAN kind of hands-on experience. Unfortunately, for some of you, you're not able to do the agent builder, but hopefully when you go back, you give it a try. It is free for now, so why not? You have explored different workflows that you could use for your personal productivity. There are use cases in terms of insurance and your typical financial institution workflows like gift registry, you need to comply, and to include AI agents in your process. Remember to use the templates. You don't have to start from scratch, just that it's a bit of a security risk sometimes. I've also highlighted some points that you should think about when you're doing your workflow automation, and mainly that goes around testing, cost, security, the typical stuff.